Yes, I'm Ulysses Cárdenas. I'm 24 and I'm from Wakanda, Illinois. I currently work at a data center in Elk Grove Village for a company named Teft. Lifestyle before conversion. For that, I feel like anyone else really, just going to school, going to work, whatever it was, just doing what felt right, but with no real end goal at the end. Just making money, being happy, and just trying to do what was right or whatever felt right at the moment. I've thought about it a lot, and I think for me it's two big points. For me, it was in high school. In high school was when Vicente and someone else came to all the way out in Wakanda, really far out in the suburbs, and they invited us to start a community. At the time, I didn't know it was Iskali. They just wanted to do a youth group, and I was very excited to be a part of one. It so happened to be that it landed on at the end of the year when I usually go to Mexico, so I didn't go for the first or second month of the community being there. And I remember it was 20-30 people we had of jóvenes. We're talking anywhere from as young as 13 up to 18 or so. So that was pretty cool. And when I came there, that's where I met a lot of my older friends. And from there, I knew that there was people that wanted to discover their faith too. And yeah, being there really made me feel kind of at home, but I still didn't connect it with faith at all. It didn't happen until I lived my first initiation retreat. I remember going back home on the car ride home, and my parents were like, "So what changed?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just feel different. I think I have a different outlook on life." I think a big part I got out of it was, that God is real, that Jesus is real, and that I am a sinner, and that He did die for my sins. So that was a big thing that I don't think I realized before. Yes, I went to church. Yes, I went to mass and stuff, but I never really believed it until the Iskali retreat. That was my first point. And then for my second point this is actually not a story that maybe a lot of people don't know. This isn't a story I really shared a lot with people, but a few people know, and actually today was a day I wanted to kind of share it a little bit more in detail. So as I said, I was involved in Iskali. I was there for high school, but then college came by, and I had signed to be a coordinator, but went to Marquette, so that was far away in Milwaukee at the time, and it was really hard to coordinate a youth group, an Iskali community with minors at the time, because we were all 15, 16. I was 17 at the time, but we had people as 15. And it just was really hard to stay connected with Iskali and keep the community connected with Iskali. And I kind of veered off on my own. In college, I was part of another organization named InterVarsity. It's a non-denominational, non-ethnic Christian group, basically Protestant, but I didn't know it at the time. I was leading a Bible study. I felt like I was doing the right thing. I was just oh, they're open to Catholics like me, but I didn't really know what the difference was. But the big thing out of all of this, even though I was serving and I was doing the right thing, was that I didn't really allow myself to be vulnerable with the people there and that community. That vulnerability was something only that I found in Iskali, and when I went off to college, it wasn't something that I found. Not having these intimate relationships with people really hurt my own relationship with God, because I wasn't able to be vulnerable not only with Him but with others, and that also ruined my relationship with myself. The thing was, ever since maybe 11 or 12 years old, I had struggled with pornography and masturbation, and it was something that was brought to my attention when I left Iskali retreat, right? It was very clear, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be allowing yourself to live in this sin, because Jesus loved us so much that He had to die, and that's a pain that I can't replace. That's a price that I can't pay, only God can. And I realized that, but I didn't move or change who I was. As I said, I moved into college, and then after that I was part of the InterVarsity, but I didn't really root myself with the community. This led to that sin that I just mentioned, to continue kind of slowly growing inside of me without me getting the help I needed. This was something that, as I said, I had struggled with, but I never really had taken any serious steps to alleviate it or change it. To me, I was like, oh, I could just go to confession and it'll all be gone. And, I do it here and there, and I go to confession and I keep doing it. But there wasn't a real wanting or yearning in my heart to change it. And again, it was because I felt alone. Even though I had that InterVarsity, I didn't really open up to them. This sin kind of led me to very bad things. This sin led to my expulsion of Marquette. I was expelled from the university. This is not something to be taken lightly. This is something very grave. The reason was my addiction had gotten to a point where my actions were starting to hurt others. It was hurting others in the way that I was emotionally and mentally, basically like sexually harassing women on campus through social media, and it really affected a lot of women. And thanks to God, actually, that they were strong enough to report it, and it got the attention it needed, and it got me to basically be expelled. That was probably one of the lowest points I had before coming back to Iskali. It actually was the reason why I was very afraid to come back to Iskali, because I was like, here are all these people that are trying really hard to be better, and I go and mess it all up. Who am I to come back to this? And I was invited back into the community. Actually, Vicente, the first person that had come out to invite me into community all those years ago, was the one to invite me back into Iskali, and it was for something super simple. He asked me, hey, come fix the Wi-Fi at Casa Iskali, we have a retreat center now. And me being an IT guy, that's what I went to Marquette for, computer engineering, was like, cool, I can help with that, that's simple. But I didn't really want to get involved back with Iskali because I didn't feel like I belonged here. And of course, he invites me to come work on the Wi-Fi the first day of initiation retreat for 2022. And yeah, ever since then, I made those connections. I saw people I hadn't seen in a really long time, and people that I hadn't seen ever. But that reminded me of the community that was here in Iskali. That community of friendship, of love, of acceptance that really wants to get to know you and really wants to help each other grow in our faith. And ever since then, I think I've been able to ground myself in a way where I can now move forward in my faith, knowing that I am loved, that I am wanted, that I'm secure, and that there's someone always rooting for me. Obviously that's God, but through the community here in Iskali is where I really feel that, and it's helped me grow so much as an individual. I think one of the big habits for me was, ever since kind of that second big point I talked about, I kind of changed my ways in the way I viewed social media. Ever since then, I actually, for almost like a year by myself, I kind of just got off social media. Didn't really delete them. Main reason was because I didn't want, I guess, the attention. I didn't want people asking, why did you delete it? Like, what's going on? I just kind of wanted to blend in, I guess. I wanted to hide in the unknown of what could be. And that was like the first year I came back into Iskali. I was still dealing with that. The major event happened in 2020. I came back to Iskali 2022, almost 2 years later. And then at the beginning of 2023, last year, I started Exodus. And that was a big thing that kind of pushed me into getting rid of social media and starting this practice of asceticism and prayer every day, and really having deep, meaningful connections with others. So I would say those are the things I changed. I think challenges now is, I guess when bad things happen, it's very clear to know what the bad thing is, and immediately you have God shooting very bright lights at you, telling you, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And at the beginning, I don't want to say it's easy, but it's very simple to know what God doesn't want you to do, and doing it. But after a time, once you've been kind of checking off all the boxes, you're left with this, well, what now? And I think we've all gone through it. It's a point of dryness, where you feel like you're praying, you feel like you're doing all the right things, but you don't feel that fire, you don't feel that joy, that excitement to do more. It's just like you're there and you're like, God, what do you want of me? And I think that's one of the big things I've been recently struggling with, but thanks to God again, I recently heard is just take one more step forward, closer to Him in whatever capacity that is, whether that be an extra prayer, an extra talk with someone that you know. It could be the simplest of things, but always going for a little bit more, because you never know what God really has in store for you. For personal growth, I think I've grown in a lot of different ways. One of the things was just being vulnerable, I think was the biggest hurdle for me. And after you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be able to look at the things you aren't so proud of in your life and address them very directly, you kind of build this confidence, and that confidence kind of speaks volumes, and it can grow into other aspects of your life. In that lowest point of my life, I didn't really have a job. I was still single. I was kind of depressed. I didn't really have any real friends at the time. It was very hard. And thanks to God really giving me the opportunity to be vulnerable to other people, I was able to kind of grow in that confidence and be able to meet more people and be really more the person that God wanted me to be. And through that, I feel I've grown. I've now have a job. I'm doing something that I really do love and can kind of see myself growing in the future. I also now I'm in a relationship, so I'm happy to say that was something that for a while, before this whole thing ordeal happened, I'd never been in a relationship before, and it was something that if at first it was hard to be in a relationship, after what I kind of had done, there was this own kind of trauma I had given myself of how can I ever be loved? How can anyone ever want me? Especially after something I did like that. And yeah, I feel like God has given me the grace and the gifts of friendships and of these relationships and of my job and so many things I can be grateful for, and it's only motivation for me to keep going on. For Lent, it's pretty simple. I'm doing Exodus 90 for the second year in a row. So really doubling down on the disciplines, the asceticism, the prayer, the fraternity. That's something that I need to definitely work on. There's never enough, and it's exciting at the same time. So my advice, or what I'd call people to do, is really take Lent seriously. Really dig deep into those things you're not so proud of, into anything that you feel in your life is really holding you back. Don't allow yourself to miss the opportunity that God is giving you, especially during a season like this, to grow with others, grow closer to Him, grow closer to others, and grow closer with yourself. That would be my advice. Again, one of the big issues with something like this, I'm very well aware that, at least for guys, girls too, pornography and masturbation is an icky subject to talk about. It's not something that you're necessarily proud of, and my case might seem extreme. Your case might seem more extreme. Everyone's situation is different, but I think the advice I'd like to give is for others to really open up to someone, whoever that may be, whether that be a friend, whether that be someone that you really trust, I think, or someone you really look up to. And although it might be hard in the moment to open up like that, I know and have faith that God will help you along the way. He'll get you the right people that will be able to help you and support you along the way. Kind of let down any expectations you might have of the path moving forward. It's probably not going to go the way you want it to go or you're thinking it's going to go, but keep going and keep trying something new. Whether if you feel like God is showing these alarms really blatantly to go do this one thing and you are kind of avoiding it because it's something that you really don't want to do, well, it's like, okay, if you're not going to do it, well, what other things aren't maybe so loud but you know you could do to grow closer to God, and do those things too. Like do anything, do something, and God will help you. Even if you don't do the big thing He's calling you to do, He will multiply the little that you give Him. So that's what I had to say. Very simple. As Vicente once said, we're not ever fully converted. We're always in the process of being converted, and that's something that I look forward to every day. Nothing. Thank you for allowing me to share my story, and may God bless you.